Welcome, I'm Faiz Rahman and you're watching Cafe DC. We bring you diverse topics, subjects every week. Today we have something from Pakistan which must be of interest to everybody in Pakistan, especially looking at the situation right now, the peace, the law and order situation. What we have is basically we're just going to talk about police and what they face day in, day out in Pakistan, especially in Sindh and Karachi. And nobody could be better to talk about these issues than a person who has written a book, a full-fledged book on the issues, the history, the background of Pakistani police, actually world police, and then coming to the Pakistani police, and again going to Sindh police itself. Mr. Akhtar Hassan Gorchani is a senior Pakistani bureaucrat who is now serving at the Pakistani embassy in Washington, D.C. And today, in such a beautiful environment and such a great weather here, he's going to talk to us about his experience as a senior police officer in Pakistan and again as a diplomat here in Washington, D.C. Gorchani Sahab, thank you very much for joining us. So, well, this book about police itself, what made you, of course you bring a lot of background knowledge to this profession, to this department, but not many people have written books about their professions. What was the reason that you thought maybe, did you have enough material to write about police?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Faz. I was in those days working as staff officer to the Inspector General of Sindh Police. So, staff officers have a little bit advantage that they can squeeze some time, unlike field officers. So, in those days, in 1997, I started writing this book because many of the organizations were celebrating their 50 years. Golden Jubilee of such and such organization, Golden Jubilee of Habib Bank, Golden Jubilee of
1997, 47,
PIA and different organizations. So I thought, why not to write something about 50 years of Sindh Police. So when I started writing this book, I thought, let me take a start from how police came into being.
Yeah. But 50 years of police basically after Pakistan came into being. But if you go
I focused
back,
on 1947 to 1997.
Yeah, but because, per your own book, it was founded by Sir Charles Napier in 1843, the actual Sindh Police.
Yes, Sindh Police was founded by, you're very right, it was founded by Charles Napier when he conquered Sindh. So he introduced a policing system because he didn't want his army to come into regular contact with the public. So he separated some of the army regiments and he entrusted them with police duties on the pattern of Irish Constabulary, Royal Irish Constabulary. So this model was later on followed by many other states in India. So you may say this is the laying the foundation of police in overall Indo-Pakistan.
Now, Gorchani Sahab, that brings me to a very interesting point which has been raised so many times in Pakistan, that actually our police is still working as a colonial police. It was founded by a British and then it continued to run as a colonial police. It really missed that touch with the local population. The British designed it to govern foreign people and they kept it that way and we could not bring any changes.
You're absolutely right. It was, its foundation was laid exactly on the lines that you are referring to, because the colonial masters, they had their own priorities. They were not bothered about the public at large. They chose purposely such men into police department who had a lot of grievances against the outgoing rulers. Those were Talpurs.
Right.
So they were these were the guys who were somehow,
because they ousted the Talpurs.
Yes. These were the guys who had some kind of animosity with the Talpur dynasty. So because they had their own motives, they had their own priorities. So, but you see the contradiction back home. Their police, that is comprising of the people who are from the same community. And it's my firm belief, no police can be successful unless it belongs to the community. If it is something outside the community, it will never succeed.
So what do you think? I mean, why did we just continue to keep the same traditions? Even the Police Act was passed like in 1935, if I'm not wrong, right? We are still operating
It's
under the
1934.
1934 is the same act that we're using.
In fact, Police Act was passed in 1861 and police rules came in 1934. Yeah.
Okay. So after all these years, do you think did we bring enough changes to basically, bring it in consonance with the local traditions?
Well, you see, over the years now it's a long history, but somehow we have failed in this regard. We have never really bothered to make police a public-oriented organization. Like you see, a serious effort, I must say, was made in 2002 when Police Act came into being, and there was some changes which were brought in police.
It was Pakistan-wide,
Yes,
nationwide?
it was
Okay.
in all the four
All-
provinces. But you see, the big difference was that Karachi has a police which was more or less, I mean, the employees were more or less from either from northwest frontier province or from Punjab. So outsiders who didn't have a feel of the area, who were not very much familiar with the area, because at that time when Pakistan came into being, there were many openings, and Karachiites they were opting to, I mean, they were not very keen to join police. Instead, they were joining other departments, which after independence suddenly there were so many.
It wasn't
officers.
by design that the police in Karachi.
I think it was not by design, because many Karachiites, they would not, I mean, they were not inclined to somehow join police. So that's why there was a large gap. So people from Punjab and people from Northwest Frontier, they came here and they filled that gap. So now that that majority was there, so that will be weed out with the passage of time. Now gradually, local people are coming into police, but it will take time.
But that also kind of contributed
Yes.
to some of the.
And then
worsening
we have
situation.
not been very methodical in recruiting policemen. Like in 80s, there was a large scale expansion designed, but it was done in such a irrational manner that almost 50,000 policemen were recruited in a period of 2 years. And everything went in such a hurried manner that you did not even had a chance to verify their antecedents. So we had so many criminals which over a
They
period of
actually
time,
joined.
yes,
Yeah,
we
so-
have been weeding out over a period of time. We had so many criminals in
So
police.
all the dramas on PTV and other TV channels that you've been watching, were basically pointing out to the same problem that police officers or policemen, they also have criminals.
Yes,
in
because
their
at that
ranks, yeah.
time the authorities then I mean
There was no vetting, no kind of
exactly.
yeah.
It was, I mean, done in such a hurried manner. It was done in such a rush. 50,000 people recruited in a period of 2 years, and then there were no proper avenues for their training, and even facilities were not there for their boarding, lodging, and their transportation. So many problems occurred. But you see, this is how it went on.
Gurjani sahab, one more, I mean, very important function of police, of course, is just to keep peace. And this is the state's job to protect your life and your property, and make sure that you have the opportunity to go out, enjoy, and everything. But unfortunately, for many years now, actually not just years, decades, in Pakistan, especially in Karachi, things have been very difficult. And again, the same thing that you hear over and over again is that police, as we just discussed, police is complicit in many an event that you see in Pakistan, many incidents. So what's still going on? I mean, when you know that yes, these people needed more training, we knew that some criminals joined the forces. So what's holding the authorities back? Why can't something be done?
Well, you see, it's a big organization. Sindh police is comprising of more than 125,000
In
policemen.
comparison, how big it is, like compared to other cities? Let's say Punjab police. Of course, Punjab is the largest province, so you have probably the larger department.
Slightly over 150,000, but Sindh police is not far behind. It is more than 125,000, and for such a big organization, I mean, it is very difficult. Because expansion was always done by the governments, but it was not reciprocated by the facilities and by giving them basic facilities of life. I mean, like boarding, lodging, or uniform or training. These kind of facilities were never reciprocated with expansion of the force. So you are absolutely right. Basic job of police is rather it's the duty of the state to secure lives and properties of the citizens. And police is the agency which executes this very object. And but somehow I think we still have got a lot many things to do to achieve this target.
Well, while we blame them for incompetence, not doing a good job, but on the other hand, looking at a common policeman or policewala, as we say, they don't really have much to celebrate or much to be happy about. If you see their their own plight, their salaries, the way they're treated, the trust deficit. But Gurjani sir, please hold your thought. I want to take a short break here and come back and get your answer on this. So viewers, we're having this discussion about police, especially Sindh police, with Mr. Akhtar Hassan Ghorchani. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So let's get his answer to my last question. So what do you think of their plight? I mean, they don't have much to celebrate.
Yes, as you are well aware, I mean, and it's an open secret. The police is in Pakistan and not only in Sindh but in entire country. Policeman is a very low-paid employee. He has got so many problems up his sleeve. I mean, he doesn't have very good schooling for his children. He doesn't have any transportation facilities while coming.
Even basic training to protect themselves. I mean, they don't have the gear, yes. Proper dress or proper tools to fight the crime.
They are short of equipment. Their training is not up to the mark. Basic qualification, I mean, they are not, their required qualification is not up to the mark. I must say, I don't agree to policeman being a matriculate. He must be a graduate. As you see in developed countries like UK and USA, I have served in United Nations Peace Mission in Kosovo, and I have seen various police contingents there.
Yeah.
But they are all very well qualified.
Yeah, at least they have some basic qualification. Let's say high school or 10th grade or intermediate. But the department itself can train them later on. Once they join the ranks, then they should be able. But okay, let's go to another aspect of it. Now, Pakistan is faced with another big, huge monster, which is terrorism, and the onus to fight the terrorism in the interior, in the cities, in the alleys and streets, is basically on the police, not on the very well-trained military or paramilitary forces. And these poor guys, they're getting killed left and right. They're riding a motorbike, trying to get somewhere, and they're getting shot. So do you think there's an immediate need to at least train them to fight terrorism?
Well, you see, before answering your question, I would like to tell you something. First of all, I think we have to overcome certain shortcomings. First of all, I think police everywhere should be local. The policemen should be taken from the very community. Secondly, I think the training should be very high standard. The present system, the quality of training, I mean,
Is not
honestly,
good enough,
I am not
not
satisfied
good
with it.
enough,
And thirdly, it is an era of specialization. But unfortunately, we are doing every way in a generalized manner. Our policeman, we take from him the duties of a station clerk. He becomes a clerk. Then suddenly we put him on the road and we ask him to control the traffic.
So the guy is basically multitasking. quote
Exactly.
unquote,
And
yeah.
then suddenly, after a few months, we bring him back and we give him the role of an investigator.
So you agree that the system is basically broken, seriously broken.
I think it's high time there should be specialization. And to fight terrorism, it's not an ordinary job. We must have a specialized cadre for it. And we have now, we have certain highly trained cadre of elite police force who are properly trained, and they are supposed to take on terrorists, but they are in a few number.
Glad you mentioned about recruiting people in the department from the localities, from the local areas. But departments have also established some citizen liaison committees throughout the country. If I'm not mistaken, not just in Karachi and Sindh. I mean, there are like committees. So how well those committees are working? Do you think that those committees have kind of bridged the gap between the locality and the police departments?
Well, honestly speaking, the only citizen liaison police committee which I have seen working effectively is that of Karachi, and nowhere else I saw such effective citizen police liaison committees. I must say Karachi was the Karachi CPLC was doing very well. I also had a chance to work with them. They are equipped with the latest gadgetries. They have an access to telephone datas, and I mean, they're working on a very scientific lines. So it's very their working is very impressive.
So basically, this committee especially
Yes.
tries to
As far
bridge
as
the gap.
Karachi is concerned, I think it was working.
Well, you have also a few things, remarkable things on your credit. You were involved in this hijacking just 4 days before Pakistan went nuclear, exploded those, nuclear tests. So tell us about that hijacking.
Yes, that was
that was quite a remarkable.
That was a very
drama.
Yes, interesting event in my career, because I was in those days posted as SSP, Senior Superintendent of Police, Hyderabad. So on 24th of May, this incident of hijacking took place. There were a few Loch nationalists who were on. I must say.
They were basically from the border areas. With
Yes,
Iran,
they were
right?
resident of Iran-Pakistan border.
Oh, okay.
So I think they were launched by some hostile agency. So the purpose was to undermine the nuclear explosions, and they were supposed to hijack this plane and take it to India, and there they would make a hue and cry that, look, Pakistan government has got money to spend on nuclear explosions, but they don't have money for Balochistan. And in those days,
But I mean, it was the plane landed in Gwadar, right?
no, it took off from
took
Gwadar, and
off
it
from
was
Gwadar.
on its way to Karachi, but it was intercepted and hijacked and brought here. And it landed in Hyderabad, and the pilot was clever enough. He gave them impression that I'm landing at Bhuj airport in India.
I mean, you have mentioned this incident in detail in your book. This is, though small, but very interesting, very, absorbing and very involving book, I must say. Sindh Police, if they get a chance, please do read it. But tell us about the finale. What really happened? You were asked to wait. You first, got involved with them. You posed as, from somebody from somewhere else.
Yes, in fact,
Yeah.
I posed as the airport manager of Bhuj airport. So I went and I was able to communicate with them. So I personified myself, as I told you, that I'm an Indian airport manager. So that's how they got engaged in discussion with us, and then they were in full confidence. And finally, we had to negotiate with them for 6-7 long hours. And
you were the head negotiator, and you were working
then
with.
I called my ASP at that time. He was Usman Anwar was my ASP at that time, and then I also called.
Where is he, by the way?
He is working as DIG somewhere in Punjab nowadays. Then Suhail Akbar Shah was then Deputy Commissioner of Hyderabad. So I also called him. So I introduced him as the collector of Bhoj district. So then all three of us, we then decided to take an action, because they were armed and we three were unarmed. But even then we took a chance, and with Allah's help we overcame.
So after almost 8 hours, you overcame them, and
yes, after 8 hours discussion and negotiations, so finally then when we took action and overpowered them and we arrested them.
Very good. So now you're basically in a different role here. You're in Washington DC doing community liaison, so to speak. You're a community affairs counselor, minister actually. So what's your image and perception of the Pakistani American community?
Well, you see, when you are promoted in grade 20 or 21, then you have option to, there is a horizontal and vertical mobility. You can go to other departments. You can opt for, like some police officers, they do opt for secretariat service. And I chose to become a diplomat. So I came here, and then I started my career as Minister for Community Affairs. My job is primarily to keep a liaison with the Pakistani community. And by and large, I have seen Pakistani Americans are doing wonders. I mean, I'm really impressed. They are marvelous people. They have not only maintained their national identity, but at the same time, they are contributing very positively for their country. They are a big source for sending foreign exchange, earning foreign exchange for Pakistan, and they are living in a very respectable way. That's very remarkable. So I'm really impressed.
Well, Gurjani Sahab, we have to take a short break at this point. Discussion is doing very well, by the way, but we got to take a small break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Gurjani Sahab, let's talk about some solutions and positive things which are happening with the Pakistan police. What you think is something that in your opinion, should be continued and can help in the short and longer term?
Well, you see, first of all, we can evaluate very briefly what are the main challenges.
Other than that, I mean, are you aware of any training initiatives in the police departments?
Yes, well, you see, training courses are being run. That's there. I mean, these courses are being.
Do they send people abroad, like for interaction? For example, in America, the concept of community policing is very strong, and it's very effective. I mean, smaller towns, very small town, controlled by a locally elected mayor, and police is under the mayor, and then mayor basically they select all these police officers. The budget, he controls the budget. So I'm sure people have studied this model. So why can't we do something about?
You see, personally, I am totally in support of the system. I feel police should be under the elected Nazim or mayor, whatever you name them. But unfortunately, somehow political leadership has not thought it appropriate to bring it on those lines. So it is being run on.
I know it's a sensitive subject,
yeah.
But please enlighten us. How much politics has to do with the current state of affairs in police departments and the ineffectiveness of police?
See, it's a very sensitive question, but you see, political influence is there. It has always been there, and it is still there. But you see, a successful police officer has to maneuver his way right and left in a very sensible manner. I mean, you cannot outrightly be on Dagestan with the political leadership, and at the same time, you cannot blindly follow whatever they tell you.
Gurani Sahab, time is almost up. You know, like I said before, the weather is beautiful. We are just sitting here on a bench near U.S. Capitol in the background, and also Washington Monument.
And watching the health conscious.
Yes, I mean, just imagine people are like, you know, running, jogging.
1:30 still busy and
Yeah,
jogging.
I mean, actually, we got lucky today because today was it's like a cold weather.
Yes.
We're almost into you know, not exactly winter, but almost it's December, and just imagine people are in shorts and running, jogging. So once again, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for joining today,
Thank you so much. I'm
and
really
it was
appreciate your.
quite interesting.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.